We all know the Jesus of the Bible, his healings, his miracles, his trial, and his crucifixion. And you would presume that all of those events would be part of the historical record. But the problem is they aren't. The historical Jesus is something of a mystery.
Jesus was a Jewish religious leader from 2,000 years ago. The conventional story is that kings anticipated his birth. His mother didn't have sex. It was an immaculate conception. He starts his mission at 30. He's quite a rebel. The Romans get a bit, worried about him. He's crucified, died, and is resurrected 3 days later.
Well, personally, I wouldn't say that the Jesus, as written and evoked in the Bible, did exist in that way, because he did all sorts of miracles and he kind of floated up to heaven and back down again. I don't think any of that happened. But I think we can say that the historical Jesus, as in someone for whom there's empirical evidence that he actually existed, is true.
What we think we know from the Gospels is he was an apocalyptic preacher from a particularly rough end of the Roman Empire, Galilee, got himself into trouble with the priests in Jerusalem, crucified by the Romans, and died. And that's all we know for certain about the historical Jesus.
So what are the references to Jesus in the writings of the time? What are the facts that a whole religion has been based on? The truth is, well, not many. Flavius Josephus, a Jewish historian from the time of Jesus, only makes 2 references to him, and one of these is debatable. Josephus's writings cover a number of figures familiar to Bible readers. He discusses John the Baptist, James, the brother of Jesus, Pontius Pilate, the high priests, and the Pharisees. But Jesus, the Son of God, is at best only mentioned twice. So is this the Via Dolorosa we're on now?
Yeah, we're about to start officially the Via Dolorosa at the first station of the cross.
Okay, and what does that mean? When you talk about stations of the cross, what does that mean?
These are stations along the way of the suffering of Jesus. From station 1 would be when he's being sentenced to death, culminating in station 13, 14, when he's already being placed in the tomb at the end of the line.
So what have we got through here?
Entering the second station of the cross.
Okay, what does that mean?
Means first station, Jesus is being sentenced.
Yeah.
In this case, literally right across the street, according to the current geography. And then he's being handed over to the Roman police who are going to be executing the sentence.
And that's here.
It's going to be here.
It's really easy for us to forget that there were dozens and probably dozens of messiahs that came into Jerusalem knowing that the Old Testament had prophesied that a Messiah would come and rescue the Jews. So time and time again, here comes a Messiah. He's got a cross. He's on a donkey. There's palm trees. He has a cult of followers. And the Jewish elders must have been just rolling their eyes. Not another one. Really? Jesus? Christ? That's what your name is? Okay. Next.
If he was the person the Bible says he was, then he was a political agitator. As a political agitator, he would have been crucified by the Romans, and his body would have been either left to rot on a cross or thrown on the rubbish heaps for the dogs.
If there were various Christians that wrote this story and it was a myth, do you not think they would have come up with a different method of having their Messiah die? Because it's a pretty brutal, horrible way of dying.
No, because it's grounded in fact. The Romans did, in fact, crucify people in public. There was an ossuary, a little bone box found here in Jerusalem in a construction site that found a heel bone with a nail still stuck in it. So he wasn't the only person
we know crucifixions happen. That's a historical fact. We know that that's how they used to kill prisoners.
Yeah.
The Romans believed in upholding the most stringent, rigorous form of discipline. They hated anyone that represented a threat to law and order. And Jesus created disturbances in the temple. And he was seen to be generating a kind of an independent power base, because people were loyal to him and him only, like above and beyond the Roman Empire. So they treated him as they treated such people who tended to challenge the status quo brutally. And that led to his arrest and eventually his savage execution.
Dr. Isle Myron knows the site well and has agreed to show me the possible location where Jesus was crucified.
So what's this site?
Well, this bustling bus park would have been, according to some, the actual crucifixion site in the Second Temple period, amazingly as it looks.
Really?
Yes, the New Testament doesn't actually specify the location of the crucifixion. The Gospels say that it was done in a place called Golgotha, meaning the skull hill, or just a skull, actually. And in 1883, an Englishman called Charles Gordon, who visited Jerusalem and stayed right up there at the top of the wall, was watching this area, and he saw something that it can hardly be seen today, but if you look at this picture, taken from the beginning of the 20th century, you can see what he was actually seeing. This is the hill, and you can see that there are two caves here, looking like eyes, and then you have the mouth and maybe a nose over here. So it does look like a skull.
And this is in this rock face here, the skull?
That's exactly it. So he said maybe this is the skull hill, and if he's right, then the crucifixion might have taken place right here.
And there would have been crosses all the way...
Well, either all the way up here or down here for people to see. You'd like to be closer to the public.
So would you say Jesus' crime fits the punishment at the time?
Most scholars would agree that he was considered to be a rebel, because when Pilate asks him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" he replies, "You said it," meaning he doesn't deny that. So if someone claims that he is the king of the Jews, when there's an emperor in the Roman Empire, that means that he is a rebel. And in that case, he will be crucified.